Elsewhere, the Nigerian Organised Labour is talking tough as it has asked State House of Assemblies to impeach governors who failed to pay the new minimum wage. Mr. Emmanuel Ugwaja, the General Secretary of the Nigeria Labour Congress (NLC), says it is criminal for the state governors to say they cannot pay the new minimum wage, saying some of these leaders ride in private jets, and he insists that they can pay. In April, President Buhari approved 30,000 naira as the new minimum wage, and after a series of meetings between the federal government and Labour leaders, there was an agreement on the implementation of the new minimum wage. Subsequently, the Federal Executive Council directed Mrs. Zainab Ahmed, Minister of Finance, to effect the payment of 30,000 naira minimum wage before December. Well, the governors, however, said the agreement between the federal government and Labour is not binding on them. So now let's talk about the economy, the Buhari government's approach and some of the issues. Dr. Emeka Okengwu joins us now to discuss some of the issues. First question to you is that the Nigeria Governors Forum made it clear that the state governors can only pay the wage according to their individual capacities. But what do you make of the calls to impeach state governors who refuse to pay the new minimum wage?
Well, I think it's just all about sound and fury. Because if what Labour, there's a document out there, that clearly shows that only about 2 states in Nigeria are economically viable. I mean, you're not going to be conjuring money to pay staff. What I think Labour should have done is to probably now engage in some kind of scoping study to bring a counter report, or to be able to now, clearly show how these states can get viable. And this is why research is very important in labor issues. I think what it is we have here with our labor is it's cross a line, go to the streets, shout to Huru, and that's it. I don't think that is the way it should operate. I think Labour should engage governments at the subnational levels,
Dr.
and then
Okengwu,
be able to come out with
we need to go on a break
claims.
now. Welcome back. First to some of our stories in brief. We begin in Yobe State. The governor, he has donated 30-number patrol vehicles and office accommodation to Special Squad of the Nigerian Police Force and other security agencies in Yobe capital, Damaturu. Receiving the keys to the vehicles and the office accommodation, the Inspector General of Police, Mohammed Adamu, urged other governors to emulate the Yobe State governor. And the Court of Appeal sitting in Kaduna State sacked the majority leader of the House of Representatives, Al-Hassan Doguwa. Mr. Doguwa of the All Progressives Congress, who represents Tudunwada Doguwa Federal Constituency of Kano State, was declared the winner of the February 23rd National Assembly election. Dissatisfied with the outcome, the opposition People's Democratic Party's candidate, Mr. Yeshua Salisu, dragged Mr. Doguwa before the Kano State National and State Assembly elections tribunal, citing overvoting and massive irregularities. And staying with the court, the Court of Appeal sitting in Benin, Edo State capital, has upheld the election of Senator James Manager of the PDP for Delta South Senatorial District. Mr. Manager's election was being challenged by a former governor of Delta State and APC senatorial candidate for Delta South, Dr. Emmanuel Duagan. The court also affirmed the victory of the Deputy President of Senate, Ovioma Agege, representing Delta Central on the platform of the APC, whose election is being challenged by Evelyn Oboro of the PDP. And back to our discussion on the economy and, of course, the NLC. We'd like to thank you, our guest in Abuja, Dr. Emeka Okengwu, for your patience. So you were talking about, your thoughts on the cause of impeachment to state governors by the NLC. I mean, how best can states and their workers avoid a showdown?
Well, I think the showdown is just going to be what it is, a show. Okay, I don't see anything coming out of the engagement. I see Labour. Sorry to probably be this immodest. I see them, coming out to do their public show of, rag here, make a little bit. But the truth of the matter is that if we need to take it to the next level, there has to be a conscious effort. And the Labour has to be able to get, consultants, to be able to now develop, documentations that they can use in confronting the state. Truth of the matter is that there's no state in Nigeria that is not viable. But that viability can be seen in the present governance structures that we have. So if we need to be, I mean, every state can pay 100,000 to workers if they just have a few of them. So when you push governments to pay this 30,000 and then they sack 80%, 85% of the workforce to be able to, meet your labor demands, who loses, who gains? But ultimately, it is the citizen that loses, not even labor themselves. So I think in that, guys, the proper thing we should be looking at is how we can be able to get labor or get the citizenry or get people of goodwill to look at the viabilities or opportunities in these states and then develop programs around them and then you cannot have a conversation that is fact-based. For you to wake up and say, oh, you must pay because you're flying private jets, you're flying this, you're doing this, it doesn't, for me, it doesn't carry. It doesn't,
Okay.
It's neither here nor there. It doesn't sit with me. You
Just
must be able
before-
to make it fact-based to say,
Just before we let you go, I'm sure the NLC, they definitely won't be happy with some of the things you're saying, but let's go over on the conditions for the border closure. Only yesterday, the Minister of Foreign Affairs gave several rules. Some of them was goods imported into the country must have at least 30% local input. And something else he talked about, saying that the government will not tolerate repackaging of imported goods, and ECOWAS countries must respect the rule of origin. What do you make of some of these conditions and how they affect trade between our neighboring countries?
Importation must happen if you have international trade, and international trade is part of what you call the politics of global economic relations. So we are not just talking about importation, and I think all of us agree clearly that these countries that are bringing these goods are not the what you call primary producers. They are links, they are sources. So instead of now saying you want to remove warehouses, I would have said, why don't you turn those warehouses into production units being operated by Nigerians and Nigeria? Instead of, because, a lot of these other countries are just conduits where, these goods come from, places that are just dumping grounds, and then they now become centers where they are now, dumped and then smuggled into the country. The conditions the minister have given, very apt, but can they be met? That is the question. Do they have the capacity? Do they have the infrastructure to meet those conditions from these countries that are conduits? So I think what we should do is that we should be able to see the gains, in closing our borders to show clearly that Nigeria is an important market, has always been, will always be, So why don't we now, go back and then begin to see how we can make the best, out of this, opportunity, that I see. And what are these opportunities? We can actually go to these countries and establish industries to make certain, or industries that will now start value processing to the standards we want in Nigeria. The moment we get into that competition and we are competitive enough to be able to bring in same standard of goods that are being smuggled, you put the smugglers out of business. So instead of now going to give conditions you're not going to meet, and then you open the official border lines, and then you have, for every one official border, you have about 1 million, that come to the pathways, and then they say because the land borders are open, goods start coming in. I think we should do better than, just give conditions we know that are very tough and hard to meet, especially, by the countries that are, sources of getting these goods into our country.
All right, Dr. Emeka Okongo, we'd like to appreciate your time on the program. Now, the acting managing director of the Niger Delta Development Commission, NDDC, Dr. Joy Nunez, says some people in government are frightened by the impending forensic audits directed by President Buhari. She said that the federal government made the right choice in appointing the new management team. The acting managing director shed some light on some of the controversial issues around the commission, promising to provide leadership to achieve the mandate for which it was set up.
Everyone in Nigeria has seen political interference in the past few days. We've seen all this noise, people paying youths to go out to campaign or protest in their rooms, and then they take the photographs and act like they're in front of the NDDC. Since I came here as the acting managing director, there's no one standing outside the gate. You all came here. All the youths have gone back because we have said, go back to your communities and we'll meet you there. The contracts as collection agent. So whether you collect, you go to their office or not, you receive the money, has been suspended by me. We're not going to pay anybody 1 billion naira every month. That is wicked. 1 billion every month can put monopumps in rural communities in the Niger Delta, can buy books, can set up the primary health centers. Why would anyone do that? So that has been suspended. The 3% from Starline has been, of course, it's not going to be renewed. That too is over.
Reactions are trailing the appointment of the interim committee at the NDDC. The latest coming from youths under the auspices of the Ijaw Youth Council, IYC. They are calling for the disbandment of the interim committee, describing it as illegal and unconstitutional.
What needs to be done now is for those members of the board that have been cleared by the Senate, cleared and confirmed by the Senate, to be inaugurated by the president, and not for any committee to be set up by the minister for Niger Delta. The reasons why we are against the committee set up by the minister are as follows. Number one, it is illegal. Number two, the argument that the committee is to ensure unhindered forensic audits ordered by the president is unacceptable. It is weak and baseless.
Well, while we wait for the dust to settle, that's it on the program. We'd like to thank you for watching. Don't forget to join the discussion on our social media platforms at Channels TV, at CTV Politics, #LunchtimePolitics. I'm Millicent Walker. I'll see you soon.